Alrighty, so our new book, since we finished September Sneakers yesterday, is going to be Viking Ships at Sunrise. Okay, so it's one of our Magic Treehouse books. We're going to read 2 chapters today, then we'll pick back up with it tomorrow. Chapter 1, Before Dawn. Jack opened his eyes. A thin gray light came through his window. His clock read 5 a.m. All was quiet. Today, we're going to ancient Ireland, he thought, back more than 1,000 years. Morgan Le Fay had told him that it was a very dangerous time with Vikings raiding the coasts. "You awake?" came a whisper. Annie stood in his doorway. She was dressed and ready to go. "Yeah, meet you outside," said Jack as he climbed out of bed. He pulled on his jeans, t-shirt, and sneakers. He put his secret library card into his backpack with his notebook and pencil. Then he hurried down the stairs. Annie was waiting for him in their yard. The air was damp and misty. "Ready?" she asked. Jack took a deep breath. "I guess," he said. He was a little worried about the Vikings. They walked silently over the dewy grass. Then they ran up their street and into the Frog Creek woods. Mist clung to the trees as they walked through the dark woods. "It's hard to see," said Jack. "Where's the treehouse?" asked Annie. "I have no idea," said Jack. Just then, something fell in front of them. "Watch out!" shouted Jack, and he covered his head. "The ladder!" cried Annie. Jack opened his eyes. The rope ladder from the magic treehouse dangled in front of them. Jack looked up. The treehouse was hidden in the mist. "Come on, let's go," said Annie. She grabbed the ladder and started up. Jack followed. They climbed through the wet air and into the treehouse. "Hello," said Morgan. "I'm glad to see you." She was sitting in the corner. At her feet were the scroll they'd brought back from Roman times and the bamboo book from ancient China. "I'm so glad to see you," said Jack. "Me too," said Annie. "It's good that you both came early," said Morgan. She reached into the folds of her robe and pulled out a piece of paper. "Here's the ancient story you must find today," she said. Morgan handed the paper to Jack. On it were the words, "Serpens Magna." The mysterious writing reminded Jack of the writing from their trip to the Roman town of Pompeii. "That looks like Latin," he said. "Very good," said Morgan. "It is Latin." "But I thought they spoke Latin in ancient Rome," said Annie. "Aren't we going to Ireland?" "You are," said Morgan. "But during the Dark Ages in Europe, educated people wrote in Latin." "The Dark Ages," said Jack. "Yes," said Annie. "The time after the fall."
What?
I'll have to edit that out.
Continue.
I'm going to. The time after the fall of the Roman Empire. "Why is it called the Dark Ages?" said Jack. "It was a difficult time," said Morgan. "People had to work very hard just to feed and clothe themselves. There was not a lot of time for playing, learning, or making art and music." Morgan pulled a book from her robe. "Your research," she said, handing it to Annie. The title read, "Ireland Long Ago." "Remember," said Morgan, "your research book will guide you, but in your darkest hour." "Only the ancient story can save us," Jack and Annie said together. "And remember this," said Morgan, "it must be your darkest hour. When there is no hope left, if you ask for help too soon, it will not come." "And we have to find the story first," said Annie. "That is true," said Morgan. "Do you have your secret library cards?" Jack and Annie nodded. "Show them to the wisest person you meet," said Morgan. "Don't worry," said Annie. "I think we're ready now." Annie pointed at the cover of the Ireland book. I wish we could go there, she said. She gave Morgan a little wave. See you soon. Good luck, said Morgan. The wind started to blow, the treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter 2. The Steep Climb. Jack opened his eyes. The light was still gray, but the air was even damper with cold and colder than in Frog Creek. Wow, I'm in a long dress, said Annie, and it's scratchy. Hey, I've got a little purse on my belt. It has my library card in it. Jack looked down at his own clothes. He was wearing a shirt and trousers made of heavy wool. He also wore leather slippers, and in place of his backpack was a leather bag. Wow, said Annie, looking out in the window. This really looks like the Dark Ages. Jack looked out too. He couldn't see anything through the mist. It's just because the sun's not up yet, he said. I better check the book. Annie handed the Ireland book to Jack, and he opened it and read aloud. The early Middle Ages were once known as the Dark Ages because learning and culture nearly vanished throughout Europe. Scholars today praise the brave Irish monks who helped keep Western civilization alive. What do civilization and monks mean? Asked Annie. I think civilization is when people have books and art and good manners, said Jack. Monks are religious people who spend their time praying and reading and helping people. Well, I don't see any civilization or monks out there, said Annie, pointing at the mist. Jack pulled out his notebook and he wrote, Brave monks in Ireland. Then he looked at Annie. If we find civilization, I think we'll find the lost story, he said. Let's go, said Annie, and she lifted her skirt and climbed out the window. Jack read more in the Ireland book. The monks copied the ancient writings of the Western world. Before printing was invented, all books had to be written and copied by hand. Hey, we're on a cliff, Annie called from outside, above the ocean. Be careful, said Jack. He stuffed the Ireland book and his notebook into his leather bag. Then he climbed out the window. Annie was peering over the edge. Jack looked too. There was a rocky shore 20 feet below. Waves slapped against the rocks. Seagulls swooped and glided above the sea. It doesn't look like there's any civilization down there, said Jack. Maybe we should climb those, said Annie, and she pointed to steep steps cut into the cliff. Jack looked up. The cliff also rose above them in the mist. We better wait till the sun comes up, he said. Let's just go super slow, said Annie, and she started up the stone steps. Wait, Annie, they might be slippery. Whoa, she said, falling backwards. I tripped on my dress. I told you to wait, said Jack. It's too dangerous. Just then, something fell from above. Watch it, said Jack, and he put his hands over his head. Hey, it's a rope, said Annie. Jack saw a thick rope dangling down the stairs. Where'd this come from? He asked. It's like when Morgan dropped the ladder to us, said Annie. I bet someone's trying to help us. Yeah, but who? Said Jack. Let's find out, said Annie. She grabbed the rope. I'll use it first. Once I'm at the top, you can come after me. Okay, but hurry, he said, and be very careful. Jack waited as Annie started climbing up the steps. Annie held onto the rope as she climbed. Slowly up the stairs, soon she vanished over the top of the cliff. What's up there? Jack shouted, but his voice was lost in the sound of the waves. He grabbed the rope and started up the steep steps. At the top of the cliff, he pulled himself over the edge. Aha! Boomed a deep, jolly voice. It's another little invader. All right, that's the end of chapter 2. We'll get started on chapter 3 tomorrow, okay?
Should we do Just Dance today, Mom, Miss Liz?
We'll see.
I don't know why I just called you